As it turns out, the most incredible and over-the-top headquarters is not in the States at all, but far away on the other side of the world in the outskirts of Seoul in South Korea. That's right, today I'll be talking about the Samsung Digital City, the home base of one of the largest entities in the world. How big it is. First off, let's just try and establish the sheer scale of the thing. So, having heard the word digital city, I'm willing to bet a lot of you guys are already scoffing. I mean, it can't really be anything close to a city, right? Well, I certainly hope you're someone who can change their opinions, because at nearly 400 acres of space, while it may not be a metropolis, it is still bigger than many towns. And by employing nearly 35,000 employees, it certainly has a population of one. And honestly, being the kind of company it is, Samsung needs all the space it can get. Because unlike their other competitors, companies like Google and Apple, Samsung doesn't just deal in one kind of product. Not to mention, the sheer volume of stuff they produce puts the other companies to shame. I mean, during 2019, in the span of just one quarter, the company managed to sell 71.9 million smartphone units, nearly more than the next two companies combined, with Huawei and Apple selling 59.1 million and 36.4 million each. And that's only scratching the surface. Because as you should know by now, while most of us only know Samsung as the gigantic information technology and consumer electronics maker, that's not the only thing they do by a large margin. Ventures and companies. Just to mention a few of their ventures, their subsidiary Samsung Heavy is the world's second largest shipbuilding company, while their construction divisions Samsung Engineering and Samsung C&T are both two of the largest construction companies out there. And it's not even just tech that they're good at, as companies like Samsung Life Insurance specialize in more economic ventures. And seeing as they're the 14th largest insurance company in the world, they seem to be good at that too. So with all of that on the table, it's no secret that the 84-year-old company needs a pretty substantial place to do all those activities from. And that brings us to the actual site of the headquarters in the ancient city of Suwon, just 30 kilometers south of Seoul, South Korea's capital. While the main site is located there, the company has since expanded into neighboring cities like Yongin and Hwasong, which all combine to form the area known as the Samsung Digital Valley. But for the sake of briefness and general entertainment needs, today I'll only be focusing on the main site based in Suwon. Now, as I mentioned earlier, the total area covered by Samsung's campus is nearly 400 square kilometers, 390 to be precise. And that area alone puts it above international sites like the Vatican or Monaco. And as it turns out, size is not the only thing that the Samsung Digital City has in common with those cities. Because as it turns out, the city that the headquarters sits upon has a bit of old history. You see, with its roots in the early 8th century, the city of Suwon is actually the last completely walled city in the entire country. And the fact that Samsung chose it to be their headquarters is not a coincidence, because one of the reasons that Samsung preferred Suwon instead of Seoul was that during the Korean War, the huge walls surrounding Suwon helped protect the Samsung facilities inside. By comparison, huge bits of their site in Seoul were severely damaged. And having experienced that and wanting to avoid any such problems in the future, the company's founder Lee Byung-chul decided to officially move the company headquarters from the capital city to Suwon in 1951, which would later turn out to be the decision that led to everything that exists in the city today. Which brings me to the next part of our video now that the history lesson is over. What exactly is on site now? Well, this is where stuff gets really interesting. Because while yes, the company has its fair share of offices, labs, and other corporate staff, there is a lot more that goes into making the various cogs and gears of South Korea's largest company run smoothly. Towers. But first, the basic stuff. On the campus, by far the most prominent buildings are the four 38-ish story tall towers, which house a lot of the office space for the day-to-day workers. But besides those four, there are a dozen or so smaller towers, and over 130 buildings that include everything else, from labs and offices to recreational facilities like cafes and clubs. And besides all those, there is also a kindergarten school for the children of company employees and even a guest house for visiting researchers. Now, one of the most asked questions about the site is regarding its cost. I mean, if Apple can splurge out $5 billion on a campus less than half the size of Samsung's, how much would this thing even cost? Well, the answer here is that it's complicated. You see, unlike the Apple Park or the Googleplex, or any of the other corporate headquarters that we know of, the Samsung Digital City was not made in a span of a few years. Instead, the campus has been growing and expanding ever since the company first set foot here. But just in case you're still curious, it's estimated that the maintenance cost of the campus tops multiple $1 million every single year. So to say that it was probably not cheap would be an understatement. Now that I'm done with all of that stuff, we can take a look at some of the details that make up the daily life around the campus. And that's where the digital city really shines. Because while all the largest information companies do have at least some benefits for their employees, Samsung operates at such a larger scale, it's far more impressive to see them make an effort for their employees. And what makes it even more impressive is just how much of it is there. Because if I'm being honest, the experience of being a Samsung employee at the digital city is not only excellent, it might just be the best one out there. The experience. First up, there are campus cafeterias. That's right, cafeterias with an S. And not only are there dozens of them scattered around the place, but there are also supposed to be over 100 menus serving all kinds of food day in, day out. And best of all, you eat at these places for absolutely free. And just in case you feel like the food is not up to your standard, you are also welcome to visit the international food franchises also found on campus, like everyone's favorite McDonald's or Dunkin' Donuts. Apart from food and drink, many more benefits come from working on site. These include free transport across the campus, free medical checkups with the on-site staff in case you suffer an emergency, and free transport in case you need to go to a different doctor. There's a kindergarten school we already mentioned, as well as 9,000 or so umbrellas ready to be handed out to employees in case of sudden rain. As far as attractions go, the place has plenty of them too. Most famous among them is probably the Samsung Innovative Museum, which unsurprisingly showcases the 90-ish year history of the company. Besides that, there are weekly events, which include everything from rock concerts to fashion and talk shows. And then there are the clubs, which help employees maintain an interest in activities outside of work, so that whether you're someone who likes to paint or has always wanted to paraglide, you don't have to blame work for not letting you chase your passions. And as we all know, fitness is an absolute necessity for maximum productivity, especially at a company so reliant on office work as Samsung. So there are hundreds of sports clubs and over 10 basketball courts, 4 badminton courts, 3 soccer fields, 2 baseball diamonds, a climbing wall, and an Olympic-sized swimming pool, just in case you thought anything was missing. And then there are more nerdy things, like the MIMO Lab, which secretly tests all of Samsung's products, or the 5G City, a testing ground for new cellular and wireless technologies. I can go on and on about all the awesome stuff that the company has done for its employees, but what I find the most impressive is what the company does for the people that they're not directly responsible for: philanthropy and community service. You see, for nearly 60 years since the campus was founded, Samsung has maintained a strong tradition of not only giving locals access to its healthcare and other services, but by directly supporting them as a customer in the form of sourcing all the foodstuff locally. And that, I think, is what really sets this campus apart, and in my opinion, makes it the most unique one on Earth. I hope you enjoyed watching today's video, and if you did, be sure to leave a like and subscribe for more. With that, take care, and I'll see you guys next time.